Hey, good morning everybody. I'm Angela, and before I take you outside, I'm gonna go over a couple things. I'll show you what I did pick. You'll see it in the video a little bit later. If you're wondering why I usually start a lot of my videos from inside, well, today it's supposed to be like 109 degrees. I don't know how hot it is right now, but it's already way too hot. So I shot the stuff a little earlier in the morning, and thank you all for watching. So this is some of the stuff that I picked today. The serrano chilies, I'll show you the plant. My favorite pepper, Buena Mulata. I haven't really had a chance to eat a lot of them, but I really love this little pepper. It's so pretty, and when they turn red, that's when it's supposed to have the best flavor. Strawberries, a little bean, some basil. I might actually make salad with the basil. I have enough tomatoes and that to make a little salad. And I do still have other stuff growing out there, so I'll still be able to pick more. I just didn't do a really good job with making sure that I had enough stuff going all the time. And actually, one of the things that I want to talk about today is why I'm doing this channel. So originally what I wanted it to be like stop motion stuff, claymation, that kind of stuff. I wanted to do my own music for it, and I just wanted some cute little videos like that out there. If you go look at the beginning of my channel from years ago, there's some really cheesy videos on there. Like, they are super cheesy. There are also some outings that we did. I recorded a couple of the roller coasters from Magic Mountain, and this was years and years ago, so they didn't really say much. I'm sure they saw me recording, I don't know, but it was really cool. And if they're not public, I'll have to go back in and make them public so you guys can see them if you want to see them. And then I did a lot of nature stuff. I may still have some nature stuff later on if I go take any little trips or whatever. So I do have a camera that it's an underwater camera, so there's some ocean stuff in there. I think there's one, and I recorded some little guppies. I don't know if it's on here. I do have it on Shutterstock, so you could find some stuff there. I know you could preview them if you want to see them, but that's what I started this channel out to be, and I just didn't really know where I wanted to go with it. Then about a year ago, last September to be more exact, I had really big life change, and definitely wasn't something positive. It ended up giving me some positive opportunities, I guess I could say. But last September, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Not one type, but two. And when I started noticing something, my daughter, she wasn't even a year old yet. It was back in April when I started noticing, like, you know, something doesn't feel right. I was just so completely exhausted. And people would tell me, well, you have an almost 1-year-old, you work so much, you do all this stuff after work. Like, I'm always busy. I'm always doing something. There's so many projects that I want to do. There's just so many things that I want to do, I want to see, I want to create. I'm a very busy person. I have a great imagination. My daughter's going to have an awesome time growing up too. I have so many things planned for us. So I can't really be sick. I don't have time to be sick. So I just didn't feel right, and I did not feel the lump. And they think I didn't feel the lump because she was still nursing. And I started noticing a change in my skin. Started looking like an orange peel. And I kept getting told, oh, it's probably mastitis, blah, blah. And I was thinking, okay, like, she's slowly weaning. That kind of makes sense. Then I thought, no, something's wrong. Something's, like, really wrong. And then she didn't want to nurse on that side. It's on my left side where it happened. So I thought, man, okay, I need to go to the doctor. And I finally made my appointment. They didn't want to do a mammogram. And come on, you're too young. No, you're not too young anymore. Like, people, I asked, who's your youngest person that you treated for this? She was in her 20s. And I said, okay. So that was after I got the news and I talked to the surgeon and stuff. But they wanted to try me on antibiotics. And I thought, no, it's not that. Whatever, I'll take the antibiotics. Sure enough, nothing changed. and one of the ladies had come in, and I don't know if she just noticed it. Maybe she had seen it before, but then all of a sudden, I don't know if it had to do with her, I went for the mammogram, I got biopsy, which was extremely painful, got ultrasound, like all those tests started. And I'm still thinking, okay, I'm gonna feel so stupid when they call me and tell me, I don't know, whatever they were gonna tell me. So I just continued everything like normal, and they scheduled the call for Monday, and I was at work. And I told me I'm gonna have to step away for a minute, I'm waiting for a phone call, and it's important. So I got a phone call and I went outside, and you could tell by the tone of the lady's voice that, yep, that's what I thought it was. She felt so bad, and she told me, and I was still thinking like, oh, well, I could take care of it later or something. I could go next week. And she said, no, you need to get in like now. We need to start you on the treatment now. And it didn't really hit me how bad it was until later. So I had two kinds. The more common one, invasive ductal carcinoma, but then I also had inflammatory breast cancer. And I thought that I did too, just because I resorted to Dr. Google before I went in, which probably isn't the best thing to do. Of course, I did not tell any of the doctors that, because they don't want to hear that. So I did some research and I looked stuff up, because I just knew that at some point in my life I was gonna get breast cancer. I knew that I was gonna get it. So maybe that's why it didn't hit me as hard as some other people, you know? Everybody's different. It's gonna affect everybody a different way. So I started my chemo in October. I had 6 rounds of extremely awful chemo. It was awful. The side effects were extremely bad for 2 weeks, and I had it every 3 weeks. So 6 rounds of bad stuff. Then on the 3rd week, that's when the side effects kind of started to subside. I could start eating again, and then it started all over again. So I would get the chemo on Friday, and by the time I got home, I was in there the whole entire day. Whole day. The first time it was more than 8 hours, because they had to monitor you to make sure you weren't going to have some like crazy reaction. And they did have to cut the chemo back a couple times. I had to end up giving myself shots because my white blood cells were so low. I think at one point they were debating whether or not they should postpone the chemo a little bit, but I was like, no, I just want to deal with the side effects. Let's keep going. I didn't want to stop, but you know, you got to be careful. I'm not the kind of person that when I'm working I just go sit down. I had to sit. Like, there were times I had to go take a break. I would get home, I would just be so exhausted, and I felt bad for my daughter because she doesn't understand. At the time, she was, you know, a little over 1. She doesn't understand why mom's so tired when she gets home, and I had to be close to the bathroom. So I won't go into detail with that because it is pretty bad. And yeah, so chemo made my hair fall out. November 1st, my brother actually shaved my head, and I documented it. We took a bunch of pictures. I forget if we took some video. I don't think I uploaded anything about that on here. And previously I did kind of start to document this journey, but it just didn't work out how I had planned or hoped for. And plus, I was so exhausted I couldn't keep up with it. One of the videos, I didn't notice that I had lost internet connection, and so I uploaded it. It's still on here. I haven't taken it down. There's only like a minute and then it just cuts off, and I was just so like devastated. I think that was one of the last ones. So then I kind of changed to gardening. I'll go over that in a minute too. But I finished up the really bad chemo, and in February my hair started growing back. So that was cool. It's like super soft. It's a little bit lighter. I'm really excited that my hair is growing back. It's very cool. And I'm just gonna let it be wild. I never got a wig. I really did not care about it. That wasn't something that I cared about. I have so many other things. Whatever, my hair is gonna grow back. And it is. So plus, I'm not good with the heat. I'm not wearing a wig. No way. No thank you. I'll just deal with it. Some people think I purposely cut my hair like this, and then I tell them the story. And then depending who it is, they sometimes, you can tell they really feel bad because they had no idea. but I shouldn't laugh about that. It's not funny. And so February, started growing back. And then I started the maintenance chemo, and I think it was like 20 rounds total. I'm not done with it. I'm done the end of October with the chemo, and then it's just tests, tons of tests. They have to watch me for a couple years, still have blood work, all that fun stuff. Some of it, they can't use my port. I actually had a port put in, I forget when, it was sometime in November, because I was thinking, oh, no big deal, you just use my vein. Nope. My veins are no good. And I actually had a reaction one of the times, and I had a rash start just going up my hand and up my arm, and it was pretty bad. So that's good. You can kind of see where it's implanted. It's under my skin here. That's where they access it. They use it for blood draws, the chemo, and they could also do CT in there, because it's a power port that has to be a certain pressure or whatever for the CT scan. So since it's a power port, they can use it for that, because it's a pain in the butt for them to stick my arm. Whoops, got cut off, battery died. So anyways, talking about the port. Had my port put in. You can kind of see on my neck there's like a little dot. So there's a tube that goes up my neck, and they access it here. It's not that bad. I have some lidocaine cream. I'll put it on like an hour before I go in. I actually have chemo next week, which means I have blood work on Thursday. I also have physical therapy on Friday. So I still have a lot going on. I had a mastectomy March 12th, and it was mastectomy with lymph node removal. So there were 7 identifiable lymph nodes that were removed. One of them still had cancer. So that was going to kind of determine how much radiation I had. And the interesting thing was the state shut down a week later. So no matter what, I wasn't going to be working. And it kind of worked in my favor. The amount of time that I was furloughed gave me more time to heal, because I did have a little bit of a complication. I ended up getting an infection. Here, my helper. My little diaper baby. You want your book? Don't want your book? But I had a had a drain in, and it was in a little bit longer than they had hoped for, but the amount of fluid that was still coming out was a lot, and they couldn't just take it out. So I ended up getting an infection. I had really bad fever, 103.5, and they put me on antibiotics, and a couple days later they said, no, we got to take it out. It was the most disgusting feeling when that thing came out, and the nastiest sound. So there's about a foot of tubing in there that they took out, and there's a little stitch holding it in, so I didn't accidentally pull it out. But it was like no big deal to them, and it didn't hurt. But the lady didn't seem fazed by the sound or anything. It was nasty. And I started radiation a couple weeks later. So that was for 5 weeks. They were going to do 6 weeks. I'm glad they only did 5. I ended up getting burned really, really bad. And so I had cream, I had other stuff to help that. And the kind of radiation that I was getting, I'd take a deep breath and hold it. Well, towards the end, I couldn't take a deep breath. I was also on tamoxifen. I was on blood pressure stuff, potassium. I don't remember what else I was taking. Zofran for the nausea. But they had to stop a couple times. And they came in and they said, you gotta take a deeper breath. And I told them I can't. So they had me rest, take a break, and we did it all over again. And they said, you need to tell your doctor. And I told them I did. I emailed my doctor. So then the next day I actually got a call from the nurse, and she said, if you're still having a hard time breathing, because I was just like, I'd have to take a deep breath, or it just felt like I couldn't take a good enough breath. She said, you need to go to urgent care. So I was like, I have radiation. I'll go afterwards. And she said, okay. A little while later, the doctor called me, and she told me, you need to go to the ER. And I told her too, I have radiation. I don't want to miss my radiation. She told me, you got to choose, because it could be the radiation that's making things worse. Oh, she wants to read a book. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm back. So the doctor had called me, told me to go to the ER, and I didn't want to go. I didn't want to miss radiation. So okay, it's rare for your doctor to call you. At least where I am anyways. I've had my doctor call me so many times. The surgeon has called me for stuff. It's really awesome. So okay, went to the ER and I'm thinking it's gonna be something dorky and I'm gonna feel stupid. Well, it took them 4 tries to start an IV, and they needed an IV in case I needed stuff and to get blood and whatever. So that really sucked. I had 4 different people try. And I had asked them in the beginning, can you use ultrasound? They did. They still kind of had to go fishing, and it was a doctor that actually started the IV, so that was not fun. They did x-rays, and then they sent me to CT, and I got a CT scan, and then I come back, and I'm still thinking like, it's gonna be nothing, I missed my appointment for nothing, and they're gonna let me go. So the nurse comes in, and she says, has the doctor come in to talk to you yet? And I said, no, not yet. She said, okay. Usually it's the doctor that tells you, but I have to tell you, you have a blood clot in your lungs and we're admitting you. And I was like, what? It's Friday. I just want to go home and relax at my house. I don't want to be stuck in the hospital. So it was kind of interesting how it worked out. A lot of people didn't know that I went into the hospital because the time that it happened, Friday after work, and then I get discharged Sunday, which I have the weekend off. So in a way it kind of worked out, whatever. So that happened, and that was like mid-June, and I had gone in the week before complaining of pains in my arm, which it was probably from the beginning of lymphedema, and then also just from having to have my arm back for so long during the radiation. And they checked me for a blood clot there, and they did a blood test, that D-dimer test, and the levels were high. And I didn't think anything of my lungs. I was thinking maybe it had something to do with my port. So I should have probably complained more then. But I went in. That's a good thing. I went in, I got it taken care of. I had to be on shots, and I had to give the shots to myself after I was discharged. And they actually want to change my medicine again because the blood clot, it's slowly shrinking, but I'm still having a lot of problems breathing. And the only thing, if they change my medicine, it might not help anything. It might not make any difference. So I was there, and then I asked the nurse, I said, you know what if I didn't come in and I just ignored it? Because I really was having a hard time breathing. And I'm thinking, oh, it's from the chemo, it's from my meds, it's from like everything else. I didn't even cross my mind that I would have a blood clot. And she said, okay, I don't mean to scare you, but if you did not come in, there would have come a time where you wouldn't have been able to drive yourself in. Like, you wouldn't have been able to catch your breath, and it would have been an emergency. Thinking, okay, it could have been a little more blunt, like, would I have died? But hopefully it wouldn't have come to that, and I could have just called 911. But I don't want to do that either. I want to just drive myself in. But it's a good thing that I went and got it taken care of. So stayed in the hospital over the weekend, and it was so cute. One of the guy nurses, the night that I was in there, it was already late. I hadn't eaten dinner. He went and found a sandwich, brought me a sandwich, and he brought me 2 Jellos. So that was really cool. But they ended up putting me on some heart diet, but the food actually was good. So where I was, I've liked the hospital food. I've been in there a couple times, and it did taste good. So that was awesome. So I get home, and they actually had to do a COVID test. It was part of the protocol. The only thing, they weren't going to get the results until after I was discharged. I didn't have it. I knew I didn't have it. I am being super, super careful, and I am still working. Rarely do I go to like the grocery store or stuff like that. I really do try not to go anywhere that I don't need to go. And plus, wash my hands, sanitize, I wear my mask, I keep my distance. I kind of like keeping my distance from people anyways. So that part didn't really bug me. I'd be perfectly happy just chilling at home too until this thing blows over. But I finished my radiation, and I still have maintenance chemo going on till the end of October. The chemo that I'm on now, it's really not that bad. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that I'm on. So minus the just being exhausted, which could partially be from the radiation, I'm feeling pretty good. If it wasn't so hot outside, I would be outside digging holes, making arches and stuff, messing with cattle panel if I ever get around to finally getting that. But I would be doing a lot more stuff outside. And then one of the main reasons that I had kind of changed gears and made this about gardening, I hope I inspire somebody. I hope I'm able to teach somebody something, get you guys motivated, just show you like you can do it. Everybody handles their situations different, but this has really helped me. My daughter is the reason that I'm able to fight, and she's the reason for so many things. And I have so much more that I want to teach her and show her and do with her. And so I'm trying to use this as a good learning experience for her. She's still a little bit young, so she doesn't quite understand. No, I can't rip that plant out of the ground. Like, she doesn't totally understand that stuff yet. But this is what helps me heal too. If I have a bad day or something, it's a rough day, I know that I can go out in my garden and just stare at my plants. Sometimes I just look at them. I just admire what's going on. I watch the life that's happening on my plant, the little ladybugs, even the little ants crawling around. Like, sometimes I just go out there and I watch nature, and it's so incredible. You can plant this little tiny seed and like look at what it turns into. It's so cool. And I hope that I'm able to at some point have that like my main source of food. I know I don't have like chickens for the eggs, cows for the milk. I know I don't have all that stuff. I don't have any meat growing out there, but maybe I can find a local farm or like some small business that I can give business to and get stuff from them, because there are a lot of projects that I still want to do. But I hope that by me sharing this, by me sharing my journey, by what I'm doing in my garden, I hope that this is able to help somebody else or motivate you, just show you that, you know, you can do it. And this is something, it really is good therapy. Just being able to go out there, and some of this stuff, it smells so good too, like the basil. I love the way that it smells. Like, you pick it and just immediately you can smell it. And it's great. It's so relaxing going out there. And, you know, I live in the city. I don't live out in countryside somewhere. My lot that my house is on, it's about 11,000 square feet. It's not huge, but it's totally enough space for me, and I have a tiny house. Don't want a big house. I'm happy with the tiny house because what I want to focus on is outside, and I bought it for the backyard. But I'll stop yapping. And then I'll take you guys outside and I'll show you what's going on. But thank you very much for watching. Hit that like button if you like what you saw. If you haven't subscribed, do please subscribe. Hit the little bell thing if you want to get notified when I upload new stuff. If you have any, I don't know, any advice for me, whatever you want it to be about gardening or the journey that I'm going through too. If you want to see more of that, if you want to hear more of that, yeah, let me know. I'll definitely make more videos. But I think somebody wants my attention now. I kind of neglected her so I could record this. But thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll take you guys outside now. My little chili plant. See, some of them are looking pretty done on there. Probably use some of these in some sauce. And I could use the scissors to take these off, but they're coming off pretty easy. There's the other plant. I have 3 of them. The third one is super tiny. Didn't really do so well. Maybe it needed more water. I don't know. Oh, that one over there is starting to change color. Pick that. Look at how tiny that thing is. They smell like they're gonna be hot. So hopefully there. There's the Kajari melon back there. I did get a couple melons from it, but it looks like it might be done. And there are flowers. Oh, there is a tiny little melon over there. So we'll see how it actually does. These beans, I don't know what variety they were supposed to be, but I'm pretty sure they're not supposed to be curly like that. And then this little guy, my bush bean, is not doing so well. See, something was having a good time eating it. I have no idea what. There was a squirrel that decided to come visit, so maybe that's who it was. I have a tiny bit of basil here. A nice purple basil. Take that in. This didn't really turn out how I wanted it to, but wow, the basil smells really good. There are a couple more coming out right there. My cilantro that I poked in there didn't do so well. Do have a couple marigolds in the hopes that it keeps some pests away. Have what's supposed to be a butternut squash down here. Hopefully it is. It's really big. So that should taste good. Really, the stuff down here looks like it's pretty much coming to an end. My zucchini, that has one more fruit on it. I might actually see another one starting, but we'll see how that does. I did plant some more in the back of my yard, so we'll check those out. Strawberries are still doing their thing, so that's cool. These ones, they didn't get eaten too bad, so nice little snack. And the plants look really good. Pick that one. And then I don't know what these are. I think originally I tried bushel gourds, but they didn't come up, so I don't know. Maybe what I wrote on there. Oh, my giant pumpkin. Okay, cool. Hopefully that's really my giant pumpkin. But it says I planted it on 7/4. I don't know. I guess I'll find out when I get more leaves, if that's really what that is. The mystery pepper. I still don't know what this thing was. It looks like a bell pepper, but I ate one of them. The skin's real thin, so I might cut it up, put it on a pizza. So we'll pick these. Looks really cute. These tomatoes are pretty much done. I mean, there's still some in there, but with it being so hot today, and I didn't put anything over these ones, they're probably gonna burn. And then plus spider mites are starting to take over because I didn't take care of it right away. My cute little rose plant down there, it's doing real well. My aloe is doing real well. That tomato plant's pretty much done. So I'll have to take everything out, clean out this bed, and then I'll just start all over, probably with something else. Maybe plant some lettuces, since hopefully next month it starts to cool down. So check this out. I have one bunch of grapes that's starting to get ripe. I'm gonna try one. That one looks like, oops, didn't see that. That is surprisingly sweet. It's a red flame seedless. That was really, really sweet. That was really good, and it did not look like it was ripe. So these grapes are gonna taste awesome when they actually are all ripe. Hopefully they make it, nothing eats them. But this vine did really well. Just, that's the only bunch of fruit that I got. But it really took off. Minus making fruit. There's that cream sausage tomato, and this is a determinate variety, so just it gets as big as it gets and only puts out a certain amount of fruit. But I don't know when these are really ripe. I think today, since it's going to be so hot, I'm not going to be able to do much out here. That'll give me a chance to kind of research some stuff and also plan out what I'm going to be doing next year, and also for the winter, which we don't really have a winter. I think our first expected frost date, it's not until December, so we're good. The only problem is with the amount of daylight hours, but these tomatoes are looking really good. And then these, my Buena Mulata peppers. These are very cool. But look at that guy. These are the coolest looking peppers that I've ever grown. And it smells really good too, like a pepper. Not sure if the plant was doing so poorly because it was shaded so much, but it still looks really cool. I'm gonna plant it again next year for sure. My banana plant, that might be another pepper that's growing in there. And then you can see where my bushel gourd had started. I started it in that cup. I was supposed to move it to the back of the yard. I just never did. So, make sure I don't step on it. Look at how big it got. This thing is huge. I've never grown these before, but there is a little gourd on there, and my intentions are to use them as planters next year. But wow, just look at that. I'm just gonna let it keep going. And when I came home last night, not sure if it just had time to recover from the heat, but it didn't really seem to bother it. You can see another little one there. Yeah, I swear this thing grew like a foot overnight. Very cool. Lots of flowers. Definitely try growing it again next year, regardless of what the outcome is this year. But very excited about it. And I pinched off some of the little runners, or whatever you call them, the ones that come out the side. So not sure what good that's going to do, if it will let it focus more on some of the other fruit. I'm not sure, but there's definitely enough plant that I doubt it would hurt if I did pinch off some more. My orange tree does not like the heat. When the oranges actually make it, they do taste really good. So here's this bed. I still haven't done much with it. It's just been too hot. And there's some purple pole beans back there. Something did feast on them a little bit, but they're still going. Probably poke a couple more in the ground tonight after it's not so hot. That melon, I don't know. I'm horrible at just poking stuff in the ground. I'd started it somewhere else and then I needed to transplant it. So I put it here. It was doing poorly, and then all of a sudden it just took off. And I don't think I noticed. Oh, scratch that. I do see some little melons. There's a little melon back there, if you can see it. Which I'm guessing there are probably more somewhere else that I just don't see. And next year, I think what I'm going to do is plant it in a similar way. Plant it by one of the little irrigation nozzle things, and then let it grow down the middle. So that'll be nice. The corn is glass gem corn, and I just kind of poked it in there. Zucchini, another zucchini. Oh, and actually, that is supposed to be another bushel gourd, so I'll probably just let it grow off the side if it takes off. This bed, the tomatoes that you see, they're still just the ones that I started from cuttings and poked in here, and they're doing really well. Hopefully the spider mites don't make their way over here. If they do, I'm gonna have to get that taken care of before it turns into a problem and ruins plants. Some more glass gem corn. There are also a ton of weeds. Probably take care of them next weekend. The purple stuff that you see back there, that's all basil. I think there's some just regular basil somewhere in there too. But the purple smells awesome. It all smells awesome, but that seems to have a stronger fragrance. And there's a drip line in here. Kind of can't see it because of weeds, but the little drip spots, they're 9 inches apart, puts out 0.52 gallons an hour. This, it's just a hole. Now I needed the dirt to finish filling up that box, and it's maybe about 4 feet away from the box, so I thought, you know what? I'm gonna make a pond. So next year I'll finish it, it'll probably be L-shaped. Then I'll also put some arbors and stuff up. This was one of the tomato plants that I started from a cutting. It looks just like regular tomato plant, like as if I planted it from seed. So I think I'm still going to try to do some more from cuttings this year, because they did do really well. That is a very big tomato. A little worm started chomping that one. So I'm just going to leave it in the hopes that he just sticks to that one. You can see the peppers back there. I'm going to pick a couple more and bring them in. I'm going to put them in some sauce. Oh, that's coming off. Hornworm egg. No, thank you. Look at that little guy back there. And it's just a tiny one. No clue what kind it is, but it'll taste good. And that's just kind of like a miscellaneous bed, because I have my tomato plants in there. I was thinking of making a tropical bed. I don't know where, I don't know what else to put in it. So if you have any ideas, leave me some comments. That's that tiger tomato. There's one on there. It's cool. At least there's one. Some other random tomatoes. Got a little harvest for today. That tomato has some sun scald, but that's okay, I'll just cut it off. And there's a tiny bit of basil. I actually have another basil plant growing in the house that I'll use. But that's about it, so thank you guys for watching.